Okay, so this is embarrassing. I just recorded an entire guide to DT Rush, completely muted. So at least I have my thoughts more in order now after doing that the first time. So let's just do a second run. Welcome. I don't know if I'm going to do a series on this, but these are tutorials for Starcraft 2. I'm going to be starting with popular request from the stream, and that is DT Rush. I'm a diamond player, so I'm by no means a professional, but this is for the lower level players who want an extra build to add to their collection of knowledge. So I'm just going to be playing against a very easy AI, and I'm just going to give a basic rundown. Exact timings aren't really my thing, so I'm just going to be giving kind of an overview of mentality, things to look for, and timings to try to reach, but not necessarily that important, because I don't want to stress anyone out, especially at the lower level. It's like remembering exact timings for everything can get really stressful, and it's about fun. So just gonna give things that are loosely to follow. Like in the beginning, of course, you're making your workers, all that stuff. So as soon as your first worker comes out, you can send your probe from your mineral line and build a pylon. Not at the ramp, because if they do something like a baneling bust or any kind of attack at the ramp, you don't want your pylon going down of all things and unpowering all your buildings, also losing supply. And also has less health than the buildings that you'll be putting at the front, so it's a much more sturdy wall if you put your pylon in the back. So keep making probes this entire time. Make your gateway at your ramp. Don't leave a hole between the side of the ramp and your gateway, so make sure to have your build grid on so you can see that. Next is an assimilator. Gas is really important for this build. Self-explanatory, it's DTs. And as soon as your first one, take a second one. Scout. I see one refinery, a barracks, and a supply depot. That's all I need to see. I'm gonna head out for now. Try to keep that thing alive. Chrono boost the probes. You're gonna need a lot of workers for this. 3 more on the second gas. Gas is super important. Remember that. Keep this little guy alive. I'm just gonna hide him up here. As soon as your gateway finishes, you want a cyber core. Leave a little gap though between the ramp and here, because you're gonna want to put a unit there to help block off and snipe any scouts that try to come your way, because you have to be sneaky with this build. I'm going to put a pylon, my next pylon, up there, somewhere hidden in the side of my base that I don't think they'll scout if they do get in. And your first unit's going to be an adept. It's really good ground to ground. It's probably Protoss' best early game ground to ground unit in the game. So I'm definitely going to use that to wall as soon as my cyber core is finished. So making probes this whole time. I'm gonna send a probe over here to make my Twilight Council hidden over here. Bring them back to minerals. Warp gate upgrade and chrono boost. And adept. Now if you're fighting Zerg, I might recommend a stalker instead of an adept. Only because if they scout with an overlord flying in here, you can snipe it down, because stalker's the only unit that hits air this early. But other than that, adept I think is the best unit to make. Really you just gotta adapt with this build. So once I hit 18 workers I stop making workers, because I need to start pumping out gateways here after my dark shrine, because you need to make 4 DTs at a time. I'm gonna hold position on this adept so that it doesn't get chased off the ramp. Griffin! Hey! Damn it. Alright, Griffin did not bark for the last guide. Damn it. This is such an inferior guide. Okay, so I have 4 gates, and you also don't want to have one pylon powering everything, so I'm going to put a second one there, just in case if they kill this one, I'm not absolutely screwed. And then I'm going to make my proxy pylon somewhere near the enemy's base. I like to build 2, one near their base, like really close, and one a little further, just as backup, because building from your base is worst case scenario. That's a long walk. I'm going to build one near and one further, and then we just wait. We're going to warp gate just finished, 3 more gates on the way, dark shrine about to finish too. And what's cool about this build is that it uses so much gas and not that many minerals that you can kind of have a backup after this, if in case it doesn't completely wipe them out. You can still remain ahead. So after your first patch of DTs, you can go ahead and just expand behind this too, to make sure you secure your lead, just in case, and it won't deny you any DTs, because DTs, the cap is going to be really, your bottleneck is going to be gas, not minerals. So as you can see, I'm already well out of this, and it comes back so much slower than minerals, so you can go ahead and also throw in a Nexus. So the first batch of DTs are out. I'm just gonna run straight into the mineral line and see what he has. No wall. Usually they'll have a wall. You have to break down a supply depot first or something. And you just go ahead and A move, start killing that stuff.
You can't warp in there.
Also, I screwed up. You can't send your probes out of your base unless you move your unit here if it's on hold position. So I didn't make the Nexus. That's another important thing to remember. So he GG'd. He lost all his workers. That's implying we won here. We don't have to do anything else. That's the basic. Units come in at 4 minutes. 4 DTs just come in and wipe everything out. Now, that doesn't happen every time, which is why it's important to have a backup. Usually you'll get a Nexus behind this. Throw a Forge in as well, because those are both buildings that don't use any gas. So you can get a Forge behind this in case they have like cloaked Banshees that they were building on the way, and that's why they didn't have any way to defend against your DTs, or they had like some crazy, I don't know, cloaked unit attack. Like they had DTs themselves, or I don't know what Zerg can do, but yeah, if they're going for some kind of counterattack, at least you can have cannons able to be built as you're attacking, and you won't lose a base trade or anything like that. So if they're not doing that, you can go ahead and get like a +1 attack upgrade. You don't need any cannons. Go ahead and throw a shield battery here. Keep making workers this whole time. Go ahead and saturate the second base, etc. And you'll be set for the next part of the game. But we won't go too in depth on that because this is just a basic overview of what you should be looking for in the DT rush. I actually thought this was a worse run than my first one. I'm kind of sad that I was deafened on my first one, or muted, so. Anyway, I did the best I could. I hope you all enjoyed. If anyone wanted to play Protoss and wanted another build under their belt, this is definitely a strong one, especially at the lower level. So now you know its ins and outs, its weaknesses. If you get attacked beforehand, you might just need to cancel this build altogether. It all depends on what you scout. Remember that scouting is key here, okay? If you see that their barracks aren't even in their base, assume that they're about to proxy you and they're going to attack you before your DTs even get close to coming out. There, you'll just need to make more units out of this first gateway other than just this one adept. Maybe get a shield battery and make, you know, just totally flip up your build. You don't need to make DTs at that point. DTs are a good way to get around their weaknesses in their build. So if they're going for some type of double expand greedy build where they're not going to have a lot of defense or units, or even just a simple one expand and not making a lot of units, and they're just focusing on making buildings, you can kill them pretty easily. So they definitely need to scout you. And so this guy's for denying easy scouts. You can even position him like here if you think the Terran's going to make a Reaper to jump in, instead of putting him at the ramp. And then if you see an SCV running, you can just come back over here, something like that. And then of course, if the Overlord comes in, if you see an Overlord, if you're fighting Zerg, make the Stalker, shoot it out of the sky, try to lure it away from these buildings. Like if it comes in here, put your Stalker up here and shoot this way so that they'll naturally want to run down instead of up into your buildings. Also, another really sneaky way to get this Dark Shrine unnoticed is not in your base, but literally if you take your second probe, if you're thinking ahead, like you make the Cyber Core and you got your 2 gases, already send a probe up to like the corner of the map even and make a pylon up there, make your Twilight Council there. And when you put these gates at the front, it's really smart to do so, because if they come in and actually scout your front, or even if they run up the ramp, see the adept and run away, they'll get vision of these gates and they'll be like, oh, okay, he's not up to anything crazy, he just has a bunch of gateways, when you built your extra 3 gateways after your Dark Shrine. Now, a good player will notice and see, oh god, these gateways are a bit late. He must have something else behind this, because you went this before you got your extra gates. Because this needs to come out ASAP, not the gateways. So the timing was perfect. It all lines up. If you get the gateways first, this gets delayed. So, yeah, a good player will notice that, oh, these gateways are late. There's still more behind this. But a lower level player, they'll just be like, oh, I just saw gateways. That's fine. And then the DTs come in. This is definitely a good lower level build. It's also a build you can use at higher level. It just really depends on what you scout. So again, scouting is going to be key here. If you see they're going for some crazy early attack, Zerg has no expansion, they have an early spawning pool, you might want to get some extra defense before you decide to either DT rush or just change your build altogether. Don't do this every game. Anyway, that's all the advice I had. I hope I didn't miss anything. Oh, right. There was another thing I mentioned in the last part of the video that I did that was freaking muted for the whole thing for, is that another good upgrade to get behind this is charge, because DTs cost a lot of gas. Damn it! I'm sorry. Because DTs cost a lot of gas, and Zealots don't cost any gas. So another good unit to make alongside your DTs is Zealots. So you can get charged behind this too. Start morphing in Archons from your Dark Templar after this, and move into a late game army composition of a lot of Zealots, DTs. You can even get more than this on 2 bases. So you can mix in some, I don't know, High Templar or Robo or Stargate. It's really up to you. But yeah, on 2 base money, definitely consider transitioning smoothly. DTs cost gas, Zealot cost minerals, and you can also afford a couple other stuff if you want, depending on what you scout. So if you see tanks, you might want some Immortals or maybe some air. If you see, you know, the drill, just F12. F12 will be your fucking guide here, okay? Protoss units, they'll tell you what things counter what units do what. So if you scout Terran and you say, oh god, they're going Thor, who cares about Thors? You got Immortals. Anyway, so, you know, just use common sense. Do the best you can. Don't stress out too much about it. You don't have to be perfect. Just have an idea of what you need to be doing. Like, follow, and subscribe.